welcome back to the Conflict Counselor podcast. I'm your host, Attorney-Mediator Chris Capoccia. Every 2 weeks or so, I share tips on how to avoid disputes and navigate conflict in personal and business relationships. In this episode, I like to suggest a surefire way to neutralize a dispute from the outset. It's a variation on the old saying, the customer is always right. My version is this: the customer or client or neighbor or spouse or whomever is right, even if they're wrong. Say what? Let me share a real life example and you'll see what I'm getting at. For over 30 years, my family owned a specialty food store with an extensive beverage selection. When I wasn't at my law office, I was the wine buyer for the store. So I developed a decent expertise in fine wines. On a rare occasion, a customer would request a refund for a bottle they had purchased, complaining that it was bad, didn't taste right. Almost without exception, there was nothing wrong with the wine. Rather, it was the customer's unfamiliarity with the type of wine and its taste that made it unpalatable for him. In this situation, the customer rightly conveyed a genuine and sincere complaint about his purchase, even though he was wrong about the basis of the complaint. My response was to politely suggest that there was no problem with the wine, but I would gladly provide a full refund. In so doing, I accomplished the following. First, prevented a dispute and its negative public relations. Second, retained a satisfied and loyal customer. And finally, maintained my integrity by candidly addressing the premise of the complaint. Now, admittedly, a perfectly good bottle of wine was sacrificed in this transaction. But considering the benefits of resolving the matter, it was a small price to pay. Here's the point. At times in life, we find ourselves on the cusp of a dispute with someone who feels they've been wronged by us, though there is no factual basis for the charge. When this happens, rather than engage in conflict to advance our position, it often makes more sense to defer to the complaining party and try to remedy the situation. Why? Because, as we've said before on this show many times, the costs of conflict are usually much greater than the costs of reconciliation. Consider my customer's complaint about the wine. If I had sparred with him about his assertion that the wine was bad, vinegar would have indeed flowed from that bottle in the form of protracted conflict, bad PR, loss of future business, and a fractured relationship. None of that happened because I reframed that situation as follows. I accept that this person has a real heartfelt complaint and is convinced that he is in the right. Although I believe he is wrong, to avoid a costly conflict, I will seek the most expedient way to remedy the situation. In other words, the customer is right even if they're wrong. Thanks for listening to the Conflict Counselor. As always, let me know what you think about the podcast and about life in general. In the next episode, we'll answer the question, to whom does the engagement ring belong? You may be surprised. See you then.